Hello and welcome back. The way Dante looked at Cassius with that deep suspicion after noticing the wound on his head really struck me. Cassius insisted that Sidwell had attacked him during the escape, but you could see in Dante's eyes that his detective instincts were screaming otherwise. I have always admired Dante's sense of right and wrong, shaped by his years on the force and his complicated family ties. This moment felt so authentic to who he is. Over the decades, we have watched him grow from a young cop into a man who understands that justice isn't always black and white. Yet here he is again, faced with something that doesn't add up. I personally believe this suspicion is going to test Dante like never before, and I am here for every second of it. What really got me thinking was how Dante started quietly investigating the escort route on his own. He discovered several inconsistencies in Cassius's account that most people might have overlooked. For instance, the timing of the attack and the path they took just didn't align with the official reports. As a longtime viewer, I appreciate when the show gives us these little details that build real tension instead of rushing to the next explosion or revelation. It reminds me of the old days when stories unfolded slowly but powerfully. In my opinion, this careful detective work shows why Dante remains one of the most reliable characters on the canvas. He isn't jumping to conclusions based on emotion alone, even though the personal stakes are incredibly high. Meanwhile, the secret communication between Cassius and Sidwell added such a layer of intrigue. Cassius asking Sidwell to stay silent about his true identity in exchange for protection felt like a desperate move from someone who has been hiding for far too long. I couldn't help but feel a mix of sympathy and frustration toward Cassius. On one hand, we have seen him try to build a life in Port Charles, but on the other, these choices are pulling him deeper into dangerous territory. I have my own theory here that differs a bit from what the show might be suggesting. While many fans might see Cassius purely as a victim of circumstances, I think his actions reveal a man who has always prioritized self-preservation above everything else. This isn't necessarily a bad thing in the world of General Hospital, where survival often requires tough decisions, but it does make me question how far he is willing to go. The growing rift in Dante's trust toward his brother Nathan is perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this storyline. The Faison family secrets have always lingered in the background, and now they threaten to explode right in the heart of the PCPD. Watching Dante grapple with the possibility that someone so close could be involved in betrayal hits different when you have followed these characters for decades. I remember when family loyalties were tested in other arcs, like the ones involving Sonny and his children, and this feels equally intense. Dante is being forced to choose between blood and badge, and I believe this conflict will define his character for years to come. My personal view is that he will ultimately choose justice, but not without tremendous personal cost. That kind of moral struggle is what keeps me coming back to the show. The evidence surrounding Cassius's wounds has only deepened Dante's doubts. Those injuries, which at first seemed to support his story, are now raising more questions than answers. Dante's suspicion that Cassius might actually be the traitor within the PCPD feels both shocking and inevitable. It proves that this new obsession of his is more than just professional curiosity. It has become deeply personal. I find myself wondering, as I'm sure many longtime viewers are, whether Cassius has been playing a long game all along. Could the wounds have been self-inflicted or staged to throw everyone off? The show has given us enough subtle clues to make this plausible, and I love how it keeps us guessing. One thing I particularly enjoy about this plot is how it highlights the theme of hidden identities and fractured families, something General Hospital has always done so well. We have seen characters like Luke and Laura navigate similar deceptions in the past, and now a new generation is facing its own version. It makes me reflect on how much the show has evolved while staying true to its roots. In my heart, I feel that Dante's investigation will uncover truths that shake the foundation of Port Charles, but I also hope it leads to some healing moments too. After all, redemption has always been a big part of what makes this soap special. Let me ask you this, fellow fans. How many times have we seen a brotherly bond tested only to come out stronger? In this case, I suspect the answer might be different. The underground confrontation that is forming between Dante and Cassius carries real weight. It isn't just about solving a case. It is about identity, loyalty, and what it means to protect the people you love. I predict that in the coming weeks, we will see Dante confront Cassius directly, and the conversation will be filled with raw emotion. Will Cassius confess everything, or will he continue to weave his web of half-truths? I am betting on a mix of both, because that is what keeps the story compelling. Another aspect worth noting is how this storyline intersects with larger themes of trust within law enforcement. The PCPD has had its share of corrupt officers over the years, and introducing the idea that Cassius might be one of them adds fresh energy to the narrative. I appreciate that the writers aren't afraid to challenge our perceptions of established characters. It keeps the show feeling alive and relevant, even after all these decades. Personally, I think this development allows Dante to grow in ways we haven't seen before. His new obsession isn't just about catching a criminal. It is about reconciling the brother he thought he knew with the man who might have been deceiving everyone. As I sit here thinking about the upcoming episodes, I feel that familiar excitement building. The tension between Dante and Cassius is only going to escalate, and I cannot wait to see how it affects those around them. Will other characters like Sonny or even Anna get pulled into this web? The possibilities are endless. And that is the beauty of General Hospital. It has this wonderful way of connecting personal stories to bigger mysteries. I have to admit, there are moments when I worry that the show might resolve this too quickly, but based on the careful pacing we have seen so far, I am confident the writers have a strong plan. The evidence of Cassius's involvement in past crimes, combined with his current actions, paints a picture of a man at a crossroads. Dante's doubts are not misplaced. They are the natural response of someone who values truth above convenience. In my view, this makes Dante even more heroic. He isn't turning a blind eye for the sake of family peace. He is willing to face uncomfortable realities, and that is something I deeply respect. Looking back on all the storylines I have witnessed, this one stands out because it feels so intimate, yet has the potential for massive ripple effects across Port Charles. The Faison legacy has always carried darkness, and seeing it manifest in this new generation is both fascinating and a little bittersweet. I find myself rooting for Dante to find clarity, but I also hope Cassius can find a path toward honesty before it is too late. Stories like this remind us why we invest so much time and emotion in these characters. They mirror real-life complexities in such a dramatic and entertaining way. The heat is definitely on, and I believe the next few episodes will deliver some stunning revelations. Will Dante's investigation expose the full truth about Cassius's connection to Sidwell? How will Nathan factor into the final confrontation? These questions keep me awake at night in the best possible way. As a dedicated viewer who has laughed and cried with this show through countless seasons, I am optimistic that the payoff will be worth every moment of suspense. Port Charles never fails to surprise us, and this current arc is proving once again why General Hospital remains the gold standard for daytime drama. What truly has me reflecting deeply is how Sidwell is positioning himself as a major threat, ready to target Sonny, Laura, and Lucas in his quest for revenge. It is clear this is not just random violence, but a calculated obsession born from past grievances that have been simmering for far too long. I personally believe this new layer of danger elevates the entire arc. Sonny has faced countless enemies over the years, but there is something especially chilling about Sidwell's focus on him, Laura, and even young Lucas. It feels personal, and that always makes for the most compelling television. The manhunt itself is unfolding with real tension. Officers are combing through leads, and you can sense the urgency in every scene. I appreciate how the show is showing the human side of this pursuit, not just the action. Dante, already wrestling with doubts about his brother Cassius, must now balance his personal investigation with this larger operation. Those inconsistencies in Cassius's story about the escape are becoming harder to ignore, and I think they may soon intersect with the search for Sidwell in surprising ways. In my view, this proves that Cassius's wounds and his secret communications are part of a deeper betrayal that could compromise the entire PCPD effort. It is the kind of layered storytelling that keeps longtime fans like me coming back. Laura's involvement brings such emotional weight to the situation. She has always been a pillar of strength in Port Charles, guiding the town through crises with wisdom and grace. Now, with Sidwell setting his sights on her, I worry about the toll this will take. Yet, I also have faith in her resilience. I remember how she has overcome similar threats before, and this time feels like another test of her leadership. As for Lucas, seeing a younger character drawn into this revenge plot reminds me of how the show expertly passes the torch across generations. Sidwell targeting him feels particularly cruel, and it raises the stakes for everyone who cares about the Jones family. Sonny, of course, is no stranger to danger, but this obsession from Sidwell seems different. It is more calculated, more vengeful. I have my own theory here that might differ from the main narrative direction. While some might see Sonny purely as the target, I suspect his past decisions are coming full circle in ways that will force him to confront old mistakes. This revenge plot is proving to be one of the most intense new obsessions we have seen in recent years. It is not just about immediate survival, but about the long shadow of history in Port Charles. I keep asking myself, will the manhunt succeed before Sidwell makes his move against Sonny, Laura, and Lucas? The show is building this suspense so masterfully that I feel the heat with every episode. Dante's growing rift with Cassius could either help or hinder the pursuit, and that uncertainty makes it all the more exciting. Perhaps Cassius's hidden ties will be exposed at the worst possible moment, forcing Dante to make that heartbreaking choice between family and duty. What I love most is how these developments highlight themes of trust, justice, and redemption that have always defined General Hospital. The writers are giving us plenty of evidence through small clues, like the timing of attacks and secret alliances, to support the idea that bigger revelations are coming. In my heart, I believe Sonny will protect his own, Laura will find a way to outmaneuver the threat, and Lucas will show the courage we have come to expect. But nothing is certain. And that is what makes it so addictive.